Welcome to another episode of Patio Pondering. Today we have the son of one of my good friends and college buddies, Malachi Malcolm from Garrett, Indiana, Laotto, Indiana. He's a senior at Central Noble High School, and we're going to talk about some of the challenges and how he overcame some mental health issues. And we're going to talk a little bit about the realities of being a teenager in 2025. Now, as a little warning to my audience, we might talk about things dealing with self-harm and might mention suicide. So if it's a topic you want to talk about, we totally understand. So onward and upward. Malachi, thanks for coming to my Terra Level Executive Suite.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me.
When your brother was here a couple months ago and we interviewed him, we ended talking a little bit about you and the challenges that you had, and I ended up deleting it because it was heavier than we needed to be, because you went from show pigs to talking about serious stuff. And I knew then that I wanted to have you back.
Absolutely.
And I think it's really important. So there's a couple things for my audience I think that we really need to concentrate on. One is the general status of watching people and how mental health affects everybody.
Absolutely.
And it's not just old people, it's just not young people. And the second thing I think I would like to chat and have Malachi's input on is how difficult it is just to be a teenager in 2025 and some of the crap that teenagers do that causes trouble.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yep.
So before we dive into heavy stuff, can you kind of give us a description of where you are, what you like to do? Maybe
Absolutely.
Touch on your business a little bit, and then we'll talk about that at the end and how that helped you with your mental health issues.
Yep, sounds good. So I am a senior at Central Noble High School. I'm getting ready to graduate here this summer. Future plans are to go right into working in dirt work construction, tackle a full-time job there and continue to do some of my media business on the side, and then, kind of get in where I fit in with side jobs and side hustling and things like that. But, right now I really do enjoy photo and video media work with the camera. I enjoy doing sports videography and photography more than anything. I would say that it's one of my main hobbies. I work for Huntington University for their men's and women's basketball team, and then I work some side jobs on the side with my company MSM Studios, where I produce all kinds of media content for people, whether it's advertisement or things along the lines of just helping them land clients or, getting people in and out of their barns with livestock media, just helping people out and, helping them reach who they need to reach through social media and other things like that.
So you're doing video, you're doing still photography, you're flying drones for people.
Absolutely. Yep.
You came and did a photo shoot for us.
I did.
And that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most fun for you of all those different media and interactions you have with customers?
I would say absolutely the most fun would be the reactions when you get them done. I think towards my jobs with Huntington, I have a player on the team text me and say, hey, I would like, maybe you could put a mixtape together for me. And then their reaction, even through the phone of they just enjoy and support what I do. And it just the way that we've built a relationship. I would say that the most fun part would definitely be the engagement I get, whether it's through the coaches or the players, just people seeing the work that I have the skill to produce, and being able to, help people out where they need help out, whether it's reaching people on social media or, getting people into the doors to watch their games or to support them. I think for sure the most fun part is just the engagement overall.
I love seeing your pictures that you post on social media because you're developing an eye where you can see things that the normal person doesn't, and that just comes with some experience, right?
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. So thinking of experience, I really have never been taught how to do things the right way. It just all came from either YouTube and how to do this or seeing how somebody did it on social media and breaking it down. I mean, I've looked up to a lot of people. I've contacted a lot of people that are light years ahead of me when it comes to this industry, this media industry, and just, ask them to critique my work, tell me what I can work on. Or if I see something super cool and I know what it is, I could YouTube how to do it and learn how to do it and apply it to my work and then see how people appreciate something new in a video or a photo.
Well, you're living what we were taught in 4-H is learn by doing, right?
Absolutely.
That is cool.
Yes.
Well, we weren't here just to talk about how much fun Malachi has taking pictures, even though we could spend the next hour and a half and not cover everything. We're here to talk about a serious issue that Malachi went through, and he shared with me some of the details. We're not going to get in all the details, but we're going to talk about how he reacted to things that were said and done, and how he relied on his resources to overcome the challenge that he had. So, Malachi, can you kind of explain to us the nexus of what kind of happened? Not the details of what happened, but what drove you to the point where your mom said, "Oh no, we got a problem"?
Yep, absolutely. So I can think back to September of 2023. I was accused of something I would never even begin to think about doing. Something that is so wrong that it just hurts me to my stomach, makes me sick to even think about. And hearing that people believed that I would do such a thing drove me to believe that the only solution to it would be taking my own life, just to get away from the pain and to get away from, how I was feeling. And I knew that it wasn't okay to feel that way. So the day that everything had kind of broke down and happened, I knew that, like I said, it wasn't okay to feel that way. And I immediately went and found my mom. So I broke down on my mom's bed and, she was hugging me and telling me it's going to be okay. And I remember I just kept telling her I want to go to bed. I don't want to wake up. I just want to go to sleep. I don't want to wake up. Well, any loving mother knows that that's not okay at all to be thinking like that. So she rushes me to the hospital that night, and I stayed the night in the hospital. And when you're dealing with things such as suicidal thoughts or anything, how I was thinking, you just have to be asked a lot of questions. And there was a lot of doctors that came in and asked me questions on why I was feeling this way. What was I planning to do? And I didn't have a plan at all. I just knew I didn't want to deal with any of this. I never had a plan. And I spent the night in the hospital, and I wake up the next morning, and they told me that I would be transferred to a behavioral health unit. I never really knew what that was. I kind of had an idea of it, but it really didn't set in until we got there. We were walking down the hallway. They pulled me away from my mom, and I felt like a baby pig being weaned, being away from mama for the first time. And, being 16 years old at the time. And, I've been away from my mom plenty, but the way I was feeling, I just wanted to be with my mom. And, walking down the hallway, I realized where I was, from watching movies or seeing videos or whatever. And I remember saying that I'm not a crazy kid. I don't want to be here. And, maybe the lady at the front desk didn't really agree with me. She had some things to say about how I worded that, but I realized what I was got into. And, thinking back to that place, it was 100% completely harm-proof. I mean, every corner was rounded. There was no real glass. Everything was plastic. There was probably a bulletproof glass case around the TV that was in the living room area of this health unit. Every couch was rounded. There was only one floor. There was no door handles. Anything you can think of to potentially harm yourself was not there.
This is a serious place.
It's a very serious place.
So as you were walking down that hallway when you were weaned from your mom, that's a great reference. Did you think that, I made a mistake by asking my mom for help?
Immediately thought that. And it was to the point where, maybe my situation isn't bad. And it was just what I was thinking in my head. My situation was pretty rough. And not as rough as some people's situations, but my situation, to me, I absolutely needed the help. And I think being in the unit for the 26 hours that I was in helped me see that I'm going to be okay. I remember this was right after my grandpa had passed away. And so everything was setting in as this was all going down. Just lost my grandpa. Then I was, told something I didn't do, and there's people out there that are going to believe that. And so this is all kind of setting in at the same time. And I actually remember seeing a deer, and this is kind of crazy to say this. You can think it's weird if you want to, but I walked into the unit and I was getting checked in, and I looked out the window and I saw a deer looking at me through the window. And I had a feeling in my heart that everything was going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And it was like in the minivan, they transported me from the hospital there. I was just praying. And I watched some birds fly off of a wire. I kind of felt like I was in a movie. But I was just praying that everything would be okay. And I saw that deer, and it was like a feeling of relief that everything was going to be okay. I remember telling my mom that when I got out. But I spent 26 hours in there. Got to meet with my parents for 30 minutes in between then. So 30 or 26 hours away from my family and away from my cell phone and away from the outside world to be taken out. And my parents and I had come up with a safety plan on what's going to go down if I were to get the thoughts that I had again. And we decided that a therapist was the route to go, just to talk to somebody. And I kind of thought that I'm going to get a break here. That's it. That's everything that's going to happen. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to talk to this therapist. I'm going to be all right. But little did I know, a few weeks down the road, I meet with a therapist for the first time. And as we are getting out of that exact meeting, my world was shaken again. The whole situation kind of, I would say, wound back up.
Its ugly head reemerged.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I knew that with the time I spent in there and the words I've spoken with God, that I'm going to be okay no matter what. I mean, I saw the deer, I prayed, I knew I was going to be okay no matter what happens. I got my family, I got my escapes from this noise, I got my escapes from this real world. I knew I was going to be okay because of the time I spent thinking by myself, the time I spent talking to God, the time I spent talking with my parents. I knew everything was going to be okay no matter what somebody thinks. You can't worry about what somebody thinks.
Mm-hmm.
You can't worry about how somebody's going to think of you after they hear what you supposedly did, even if it was a lie or not.
I think, Malachi, what you're saying is that you were starting to develop tools to safeguard yourself from the effects of what people were saying about you.
Yep.
And you were trying to develop those tools. And as a 16-year-old, take this for all it's worth, you didn't know shit.
No, not at all. Not at all. First time dealing with something like that serious. I've known of some people that have dealt with something like that, and they were in touch. They let me know that they were okay and that there's outlets to being all right. You can think of it as a basketball game. If you get trapped in the corner, you got a teammate you can pass it to.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got something weighing on you and you got something you're dealing with, there's somebody there to help you no matter what, whether you pass it off to them and tell them everything that's going on or you just sit there and talk about it. I've had some really close friends in my life. I remember my best buddy to this day. He was there. I mean, he got me out of the house. We hung out a lot, whether it was in school or outside of school. Hung out a lot, spent a lot of time together, and he kept my mind off of the serious things. I remember one of my other buddies, we were actually sitting at a volleyball game, and I just told him everything. Well, being the tough high school boys that we are, he actually stood up and gave me a hug, standing right there in the student section, because he realized what he heard at school that I did wasn't real at all, wasn't serious, not something I would ever do, and realized how bad I was struggling with everything, hearing about everything that had happened, and knows that he needs to be that friend that's there to help.
You went to the behavioral hospital.
Yep.
You started therapy. It raised its ugly head. It's resolved now.
Mm-hmm.
It's behind you. In retrospect, now that everything's resolved, can you look back and see if there were things you were doing or signs that somebody could have seen that even leading up to the event that you weren't all right?
I think for sure my mom was my biggest rock through everything. She was definitely somebody I could go and talk to if I needed to. And she noticed, and it's crazy, she just always tells me it's just something a mom would know. I remember from the time when I was younger and I would, sneak an Oreo into my room or something. I would lie about something. She just knows because, till this day, I have no idea how she found out about some of the things she found out about me being mischievous.
Yeah.
She was able to find out, so she knows me better than anybody in the world, I would say. She was able to recognize the depression. She was able to recognize, when I was not eating, I was not talking to people, I wasn't having fun, I wasn't wanting to leave the house, I wasn't wanting to leave my room, I wasn't wanting to do the things I normally do, I was wanting to sleep a lot, didn't talk a lot, and she just knew that I wasn't okay, and that for me was huge because she was able to understand how I was feeling and help me when she needed to, how she needed to.
Okay. Your mother, I've never talked about this, but I bet her intuition really played off, but she's probably kicking herself she didn't do something, right?
She definitely, when everything was going down, I think she felt like putting me in that mental health unit was a bad decision. Obviously, I hated it. I hated being in there, and I know that I don't want to necessarily say beat herself up over it, but she didn't feel like that was the right choice. But what did she know?
Yeah.
That was the first time that we've dealt with something that serious. She just did what she thought she would know, and it wasn't the wrong decision at all. I mean, it helped me realize a few things, and not at any point was it the wrong decision that needed to be made. And might get emotional talking about this, but I remember at the hospital, you know, I talk about her being my biggest rock. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and seeing her laying on the hospital chairs. I mean, they're just small chairs like the office chairs we're sitting in now. And she was trying to sleep. She couldn't, but she was laying her head up on this real hard desk that was in the corner. And I felt horrible that I put my mom through this situation, but I realized quickly that my mom loves me and she understands what I'm going through, and she's going to do what any loving mother would do and take care of her kids like she needs to.
What was it in your thought process that helped you continue going down the path of recovery, even though you knew it was hurting your parents?
What do you mean by hurting my parents?
Watching your mom try and sleep in a uncomfortable hospital bed. I think it would be easy to say, no, I made it all up. It's no big deal. I don't want to hurt my parents anymore. Did that ever cross your mind?
No, not at all. I just think that for sure it was the fact that I knew I needed help. Maybe it wasn't, I didn't think I needed help the way my mom thought I needed help, but there's nothing wrong with that. She was being the mother that she is and wanted the best for me, but not at all.
You said you knew you needed help. What was the thought process, or how did you come to the point where you knew you needed help?
I just knew that it wasn't okay. I was in a group at school called Sources of Strength, and we were basically a suicide prevention group. And I had always learned that they kind of took the kids that, the kids that got good grades and the kids that, weren't messing around in class. You call them the kids that, teachers' kids almost. There was a lot of kids in the group that parents were teachers at the school, just like me. And I knew that through my time and training in that group that it wasn't okay to feel this way. And it's something that they always told us was that if you know somebody that's struggling, reach out and help them. But they never really taught us that if we're struggling, what to do. But it didn't matter if they hadn't taught us that. I already knew that if I was someone who's struggling, I need to reach out and find somebody. So like I said, I reached out and I found my mom, and she was able to help me through everything.
Very good. So you had the tools at Central Noble.
Yep.
Just a wild guess. What percentage of the students have been exposed to those tools?
I would say a large percentage. I don't really know a number for sure. I don't want to say 100% because there's just some kids that don't take info in as well as other kids. And I have a feeling that they know that everybody knows it's not okay to feel that way. Okay. And if someone's listening and they're struggling, that it's okay because everybody struggles. Whether you're a 47-year-old man or you're a 17-year-old kid, doesn't matter what age you are. If you have struggles with something, reach out, ask for help. There's somebody out there who cares. Like I was talking about with the basketball player. You get trapped in the corner, you're in amongst the trees and you need a pass, you need an outlet. There's somebody out there that's going to help you. Whether you don't think there's somebody that loves you, there's always somebody that loves you. And I think if you're struggling, you don't want to talk to anybody, I just pray about it. Just pray. Bow your head, close your eyes, fold your hands, just pray about it. Ask God for a sign, ask God for help. He knows you're not doing well. If you aren't doing well, he knows you're not doing well. He knows you're struggling, but he has a plan for you. And he knew that when he created you, that you were going to go through something to become the human you are today. When he created me, before anybody knew me, he knew the challenges that I'm going to face. Whether I've already faced them or I'm going to face them in 20 years from now, he knew that the person I need to be for him is going to have to go through these challenges.
This might be a rhetorical question, but if so many people know the impact of suicidal thought and how to deal with suicidal thought, then why do we continue to use our words to put teenagers in positions where their outlet is to have suicidal thoughts?
Absolutely. It's a great way to put it. Don't know if I really have words for that one, but just why? I think I just repeat your question, as in why, Why lie? Why make somebody else's life hell? If you get enjoyment out of that, you're a sick person, in my opinion. Not at all is it okay to do something like that. But just, I think, why is the biggest piece I come away with.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to summarize it. Why? We've all been in situations where we've asked why, and maybe we've said things or done things we shouldn't have. I know I have.
Yep, definitely.
You've mentioned God and your family and friends. It sounds like you had a nice network to fall back on once you could finally start taking those steps forward. Is that key to your growth?
I would say absolutely, 100%, because I think if I didn't have the people or the resources that one, wouldn't have recovered at all, or two, wouldn't have recovered as quickly as I did. Mm-hmm. And not that it's about quickly. I mean, anybody could be struggling with something like I did for years on years. I mean, you hear about stories of people that aren't mentally okay and they battle and they struggle with things not just for a year and a half like I did. I mean, there's still episodes or events that occur in my life where I'm just like, I've struggled before. I'm going to be okay. And there's people that, aren't okay for a long period of time. But having those resources to fall back on 100% impacted how quickly and how well I recovered.
Okay. So what words of wisdom would you give somebody to have the strength to reach out to their network?
Absolutely. Kind of like I said earlier when talking about God, he gave his most difficult challenges to his strongest warriors. And I saw that quote somewhere. And I think that's going to apply to my life in more ways than one. Whether it's you're on your way to a family Thanksgiving and you blow a tire on the side of the highway and you're cussing out loud because you're going to be late and or if it's a situation like the situation I went through, like I said earlier, it's going to shape you into the person you need to be for somebody else, whether it's for God himself or if it's for a friend down the road. And if we think back now, I'm stronger now than I ever was, that if someone were to come to me struggling, I'd be able to help them in ways that some person might not think a 17-year-old kid could help somebody. And I just think that's the most beautiful thing, in my opinion, out of the whole situation.
So you're 17.
17 now.
And you've already had a lifetime worth of mental health challenges.
If you want to put it that way, then sure.
You met with a therapist. How impactful or how much do you think the therapist helped you?
Honestly, not a whole lot, because it was just somebody to talk to. I have plenty of people to talk to if I want to. I mean, my parents blessed me with 5 other siblings. If I wanted to talk to somebody, I would just start talking out loud. But I think being able to talk to somebody that's a professional definitely helped, because he helped me realize some things that I hadn't realized before. A therapist isn't for everybody, but it's definitely a route worth taking to see if it is for you. There was definitely some things that we talked about that helped me realize, but some other things we talked a lot about IU basketball. And I'm not sure if you know this, but I'm the only Indiana fan in a family of Purdue fans.
I had no clue about you being the only IU fan in the Purdue family.
I'm a proud IU fan. Sometimes it's hard.
So you're just going to keep talking until the Purdue game starts so that I miss it tonight.
That's right. My team already lost, so I might as well keep talking. But we sat there and talked a lot of Indiana basketball, and it really helped get my mind off of the real world. Just being able to sit there and talk to somebody. I mean, like I said, I got 5 siblings to talk to, but not a dang one of them want to talk about IU basketball with me, I'm sure. But that guy was more than happy to talk about anything I wanted to talk about.
Did you feel the freedom that you could talk with him about anything?
Yeah.
And nobody would remember it?
100%. Yeah. I mean, with it being 100% confidential, I knew it wasn't going to get out past that room. I mean, my mom and dad know every single detail. There's a couple of my buddies that know every single detail that went into the whole journey. And, my therapist as well knows every single detail, because I just felt like, that's the guy I've never met before, and I was able to share everything with him. And who knows, maybe that helped him realize something in his life. Maybe that helped him, because it doesn't matter what field of work you're in. Anybody can struggle with something. Whether you're somebody that helps people struggle or you're struggling yourself, it helps you realize it. Kind of makes you sit back and just think about what somebody else could be going through.
Yeah. Just for full disclosure, I saw a therapist for quite a while after my mother died. And then last summer, I just had a couple revelations I need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And being able to just blurt out stuff and knowing that it's not going to be brought up in the next argument.
Yep. Absolutely.
is liberating.
Yep.
Did you have that experience?
Absolutely. 100% did with my therapist. I mean, I was able to just say whatever I wanted about the situation, and whether he gave me a concerned look or laughed it off. I mean, I was able to blurt out, like you said, and just talk about everything that had happened.
So have you had any comments from your peers about you going to therapy?
No, not at all. Not many comments at all.
It appears to me that your photography, and I think you mentioned this when we were talking before we started recording, is an escape from reality.
Yes.
And what do you mean by that?
I'm by myself. I get to work for myself. You know, I wouldn't necessarily call it being self-employed because I don't make enough money doing it to say that I'm self-employed and work for myself. But when I get to have a camera in my hand or I get to edit, I'm in my own world. I'm either, let's say I'm filming a basketball game. I get to focus. I get to watch the game. I get to film it. I get to make a memory or a video for somebody who appreciates something like that. I get to be by myself. I get to be in my own world. I get to experiment with different things that I love to do. You know, some people might see it as, that looks really hard to do. I'm not going to spend 2.5 hours editing a video.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, that's something that gets me away from the real world. I don't, as I'm sitting there editing or I'm sitting there shooting the game or taking photos, I'm not thinking about what's going on outside of this gym or this wherever I'm at. I get to be in my own zone and I get to work on things that I love to do.
It appears to me that when you're behind the camera, you're in front of the computer doing the editing, you're in a situation where you're in control.
Yep. Absolutely.
You think that helped with your recovery? You're able to get someplace where it's your safe space because whatever happens in there happens with you because you're doing the work?
Yeah, for sure. Because just being able to be my own boss, really. I get to be the commander in chief and decide. I get to make the decisions on what I want this to look like and what I want that to look like. And I just get to be in my own zone. I get to be locked in doing what I want to do.
Of course, the dark side of that is you're alone.
Yep.
With your thoughts.
Yep.
So what kind of mechanisms have you put in place so that you can see if you're getting in a bad spot or keep yourself from getting in that bad spot?
I know that if something were to happen that could trigger an unsafe situation like what I went through, that I need to get out of it as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. Whether I wake up one morning and I just am pissed off at the world, or I wake up and I'm in a good mood, I know that if I'm not happy, I don't want to be where I'm at, I'll go do something else. Whether I go outside to the barn, or I go outside and, as the weather getting warmer, go outside and shoot hoops, go downstairs, talk to my family, or even if I'm sitting there at my desk, I just take a seat back and scroll on TikTok for a little bit, scroll on Instagram for a little bit, or, get on Snapchat, see what my buddies are up to or something like that. Just being able to take a break from what I'm thinking. And I know now that it's okay to take a break from what you're thinking. It's okay to zone out. You don't have to think about that right now if you don't want to. And
but do you have a mental escape plan that if you feel this, you're going to do A or B or C, or did you just play it
I kind of just play it by ear, just really do it as I please. If I had something that, like I said, could trigger something up, I just do what I feel like doing. If I want to go to bed, I go to bed, wake up, and I'm a different person. If I have to sit back and pray about it, I sit back and pray about it. If I, like I said, get on my phone. If I want to go talk to somebody, I go talk to somebody. I mean, I got a lot of different outlets and other things I could do to get my mind off of it.
Are there things that you notice that you're getting into one? So let's put it in a pig perspective. Okay. If you got a pig that you walk in the barn, he's an up-eared pig, but he's got an ear that's kind of bent down, and maybe his head's down a little bit. Yep. That's an indication you might be getting sick.
Yep.
What are your indications that you might be getting to that place where you need to go shoot hoops or go walk to the pig barn?
Yep. I would say, honestly, it's kind of hard to explain, but it just feels like your life gets darker, like the room gets darker, whether you're sitting in a fairly lit up room. I kind of just feel like it gets darker and kind of enclosed, and then I know that it's not okay to be in that situation anymore. I need an escape.
And have you noticed that those events of darkness are getting less frequent?
I would say as time went on, yeah.
Okay.
Like, to this day, I can't think of the last time I had one, which is a good thing to say. I'm proud to say it, but
Sweet. Yeah. That's good to hear.
Yep.
You started spending time by yourself doing the photography. What was the moment where that kind of took off and it stopped just becoming a therapeutic event to, man, I might be able to make a little cash with this?
I would say from the start, even before all this stuff happened, I picked a camera up for the first time in 2022 and started doing some work then. And then I was right in the middle of my journey and thought to myself that this stuff's kind of getting in the way of what I'm dealing with. And I didn't really think of it as an escape right away. Eventually, I realized that I get to be by myself and I get to make some decisions and make cool things for others to see. And I saw it as an escape. But I would think it was never about the money for me. Even if even if it's nice, yeah, it is nice to be able to
Mhm.
go, do a photo shoot and make a couple $100, sure. But it was never about that. I kind of always saw it as a hobby that I
Okay.
really enjoyed doing. I mean, there's days I'll sit in my room and edit videos that don't cost a dime. And I'll send them to this guy and say, hey, look what I did. And, oh, that's awesome. And it's kind of just not necessarily an escape from the, like depressing, darkness side of things, but just kind of an escape from reality, really.
I bet there's a time when you're going to be running a dozer or a backhoe and knee deep in mud going, man, can I turn this photography into
Exactly.
a business?
I'm sure I've had a lot of conversations about that for sure.
As I've watched you on social media, do you prefer filming basketball games or a turkey hunt?
That's tough. That is really tough because they're two completely different things. I think it's safe to say I 100% film more basketball games than I do anything else. But if it came down to making the decision, I would probably rather be in the woods filming a turkey hunt than filming a basketball game. Just basketball games can get intense, but boy, being on the ground with the turkeys and, doing something I enjoy in hunting and being able to film it and share the memories with other people and look back on them for years to come is just, it's a feeling like no other, really. It feels like you're in a movie, honestly.
Well, and that turkey hunting is a different competition than you're used to when you played basketball or when
Sure.
you're showing pigs.
Sure.
Because you've got the wild card of that frickin' turkey.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that turkey's going to determine your day, whether you walk out to the woods and sit through the rain to come home with one, or you walk out to the woods, sit through the rain to come home empty-handed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of a waiting game, really.
Oh, yeah. And you're fortunate you can walk right out the back door and get into some turkeys, can't you?
Oh, yeah. We got pretty good turkey hunting area where I'm at. Not sure if I should share that on here, but
Oh, I've been to his place. It's horrible. There's houses everywhere. It's noisy. There's no turkeys. In fact, I think they
never
even
gonna
thought
see
about
one.
importing turkeys. It's a horrible place to go.
Yeah, definitely do not recommend
do not go
ever
there.
hunting out
Yeah.
here.
Are you mouth, slate, or box collar?
I like to go the mouth route. I actually just bought a new one. It should be delivered pretty soon, but the mouth route's a lot easier because you're not fondling with different materials. You're not fumbling between a slate and a gun.
Yeah.
Or a box call even. I just like, you could pop the mouth call in and chirp for a little bit and set it over into the side of your mouth and talk and have a conversation with, whoever you're with. But the mouth call, I'm not very good at it. So sometimes it sounds like a chicken going through some who knows what, but sometimes it actually can sound like a turkey. I've had some successful hunts using a mouth call, but I would definitely say my route's a mouth call.
Well, and you nailed it. You can have both hands free, and you're not dealing with if you're in the rain.
Oh yeah, that
your
slate
mouth
call, man.
yeah, the slate. You're like, oh crap!
You got to worry about being able to buy a replacement one when that one's ruined because of the rain.
Yeah.
So I like a mouth call.
So, do you prefer chasing turkeys or deer hunting?
That's a tough one. I think Micah would probably say deer hunting because he's done it longer, and I might have to agree with him. But the intensity, and we've had this conversation, turkey or deer, and that's why I brought him up because he loves deer hunting. But I would honestly say if you're looking for a more intense route, if you want to get someone hooked on something, take them turkey hunting because being on the ground in that action, you're 5-10 yards from the animal you're after. It's an unreal experience. I remember my first time going, I actually missed my first ever bird. I wasn't even aimed down sights. I was shaking and scared. I was so hyped up on adrenaline. I missed my first ever bird, and then a few days down the road killed my first ever one. But I think there's a difference being 15 feet up in the air against a tree, being real still so the deer don't see you, versus being on the ground with the turkeys being super, super still, and then coming home with the reward of a turkey. So
that is cool. So for reference, when I was Malachi's age, if we wanted to hunt turkeys, we had to go up to Pigeon River State Forest or State Wildlife Area because they'd been introduced. There were no turkeys in Allen, DeKalb, Noble. They were just non-existent. And now
it's crazy.
You can walk outside the door.
Absolutely. You walk right outside and, there's 20, 25 of them in a group just strutting away. And that's the beauty of it right there.
Oh, yeah. You went through your challenges in the fall, and obviously turkey season, the hot one, is in the spring. But that was kind of a reward. You were doing therapy and getting your feet out under you, and then turkey season came along. Was that helping you as you continued your journey?
Yeah, so that all happened in the fall. And right there in the fall, we get deer season. So being able to be in the woods with the camera and alongside my brother as we're deer hunting, getting my mind off things. And then after deer hunting, you get a little break and then you're into the turkeys. It's just, it kind of felt like a blessing in disguise, really, because I went through all the things I went through. And as soon as I realized I was going to be all right, I felt like God blessed me with a lot of things I wasn't expecting. My photography and videography, I would say, took off from there. I would say we had a pretty rewarding turkey season. At least I know I did. Micah wasn't very fortunate last turkey season.
That's okay.
That's all right.
Yeah, Micah deserves all the bad things since he blew us off tonight.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it did feel like a reward, kind of getting over that, and then being able to spend time out in the woods having fun.
That's fun hearing you talk about turkey hunting with your brothers. As we kind of wind down talking about the negative things, you mentioned that you're part of what's the peer group called?
Sources of Strength.
Sources of Strength. I mean, I think most schools have them. I know that Jolly has talked about a little bit at Leo. What would be your words of wisdom to somebody as a teenager to being cognizant of how they're feeling and then how to ask for help or deal with those feelings?
I think just 2 words, and it's okay. Because the toughest people I know struggle. Everybody struggles. Whether you say it or not, someone struggled with something. Whether it's happened or it hasn't happened yet, it's okay to feel, it's okay to not be okay. And you think about how many suicides there are every year, and the amount is crazy. And you look at the suicide numbers between men and women, and men, it's just skyrocketing compared to women. And even each day, what happens. But aside from all that, it's okay to not be okay. And if you need help, there's someone there to help you. Whether you feel like you have no friends or family that care about you, there's someone that cares.
Yeah.
Might not be able to see him, but I promise you that if you talk to God, you'll feel him eventually. Keep praying, keep talking, keep working towards it. Set some goals for yourself to get better, and it's going to be okay.
We talked about this last night when I interviewed Kim on veterinary side, high suicide, and they don't have the freedom to not be okay. And I think your words of wisdom of it's okay to not be okay are massive.
Huge.
I'm going to be 54 this year, and they apply to me too. How does it feel in your family of 8, no 9, right?
9 if you count brother-in-law.
Yeah, your brother-in-law. To be the different one. And I mean different because you like IU basketball, you're in photography, you're a great athlete, but not like your other siblings.
Absolutely.
So you're a little different than everybody else.
I actually do think about that a lot. And, take this for how you want it. I'm the only one to not make the Showman to Showman contest yet at the county fair. Got one more shot at it this upcoming year. That's always been a goal. But, they all have loved it more than I have. But if you think about it, I'm also the only one to ever win the photography contest at the county fair.
There you go.
So there you go right there. And as much as that is a joke, I have my hobbies, they have theirs. Whether it's cheering on a team that's going to make March Madness every year in Purdue versus a team that might get lucky to even make it is in Indiana. And it's just kind of you think about how everybody's different. We're different, but we're so alike. And I think about the situation I went through, and no matter what someone had to say, they were there for me. Whether it was Miranda, who doesn't live at home anymore, or Merrick, who's always with me all the time. It's my best friend. Yeah. So, he's always with me all the time. Whether it's one or the other, someone was there for me. And just knowing that I had siblings to fall back on and someone to talk to when I needed to, someone to joke with, whether they're joking about me or they're joking with me. Built-in best friends is what I like to call them. Somebody that, even though we're all different in our own ways, we're all alike as well in how we handle situations and how we love each other.
As you went through your journey of mental health and growth from where you were, have you had times when you had somebody come to you and say, hey, Malachi, I'm feeling down, feeling not great, where you've been able to help somebody like your mom was able to help you?
I wouldn't say so far I've had something along the lines of mine. Maybe some friends being upset about certain situations. I can think, there's a lot of times I'll have someone send me a Snapchat and they don't look like they're doing too well. And I'm like, hey, how are you doing? Oh, my girlfriend just broke up with me, this and this. And I'm able to relate to them and say, hey, it's okay, dude. That's just not who God had in plan for you. Or they're like, yeah, man, think back to another situation. They weren't doing the best when it comes to just overall mental health. And that's okay, because I've been there too. You're not alone at all. And that's just a plan that God's got for you. And we're going to get through it, whether we do it together or not, but we're going to get through it.
Well, we got a 17-year-old with his life ahead of him and some really cool skills that he's developing on both turkey hunting and deer hunting, but more importantly, the videography. And when we get done recording here, he and I are going to talk about how we're going to set up the Patio Pondering Terra Level Executive Suite to make it a little bit better. Maybe incorporate some photography to do some video podcasts.
Heck yeah.
But you got a 17-year-old and a soon to be 54-year-old that both have struggled. And I've not struggled near as much as Malachi have. But there's times that I've been in that same situation of shit.
Sure.
And fortunately, I was lucky enough to have people in my life too and reach out. So my challenge to anybody listening to this, stand next to Malachi and ask for help. Being a 54-year-old man, it's tough to ask for help. And as Malachi talked about being a strong, athletic 16-year-old, it was tough for him to ask for help. So we're giving you permission to ask for help.
It's never okay to not feel okay, because if you're not feeling okay, that's not right. You shouldn't not feel okay. You should always feel like there's someone that's there for you. You should always feel like, you're going to get through it. Yeah. There's going to be better times ahead.
Yes. I agree. There are better times ahead.
Absolutely.
From a personal standpoint, I'm sitting here trying to figure out how I'm going to talk to my banker about making our spring farm payment because crops sucked last year.
Sure. I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
Rough time.
So my help today was sending an email to a banker and a financial advisor saying, hey guys, here's where I am. How can you help?
Yep.
I'm not trying to equate my financial struggle with making a loan payment to the challenge that Malachi had, but I still ask for help. So ask for help.
Yep. Doesn't matter the situation. If you need help with something, reach out. Whether you don't know what you're going to do with your life or you don't know what to feed a pig or something. You don't know how to get this one looking show ready, or you're struggling like I struggled. Ask for help. Someone there to help you.
Well, Malachi, I am going to spring something on you.
Oh boy.
That I don't think you expected. And I didn't think we were going to do it, but I think we need to add a little levity to what we talked about here. So I'm going to ask you our 5 questions.
Okay.
First question is, what is one lesson from agriculture that you carry with you every single day?
Work hard. And you can think about it how you want, but I sit inside a lot behind a laptop and edit. Might not look like dirty hard work, getting my hands dirty, but wasn't easy getting to where I'm at. Mm-hmm. I had to hear a lot of criticism I didn't want to hear. I had to see a lot of Instagram comments about what my work looks like to somebody else to get where I'm at. I had to work really hard to land the job as I land. Probably sounds, real funny to say it, but it's hard work. And nothing, what's that saying? It's nothing is given, everything is earned. Mm-hmm. You can't sit inside all day and hope that you're going to be ready for showmanship. When county fair comes around or state fair comes around, you got to go work for it. Mm-hmm. And I've been able to apply that almost to anything in life that I've been able to than I have wanted to.
Well, the wee bit of video editing I've done in CapCut just gives me brain freeze. So you're a god from my standpoint to be able to understand how to do that. Work hard. That's a great one. If you could sit down with any historical figure in ag or wherever, who would it be?
Any historical figure?
Yeah.
You said it doesn't have to be an ag. It could be anywhere.
Well, the ag's question, but for you, it's anywhere.
Let me think here. Not going to be involved in ag, but I'm going to say Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King, because he did something that was different. He was different than everybody else. He looked different than people at the time. People didn't agree with him. But he was able to speak his mind and speak his thoughts about what he thought should be happening and how things should be handled. And the fact that he was able to be that person amongst everybody else to come out and speak their mind and say, this isn't fair, I think is absolutely, amazing that he was able to stand up for what he thought was right. And stand up and say, this is not okay. Mm-hmm. And I can see how that applies to a lot of people's lives, whether it's mine or somebody else's. But
I'm sitting here mind blown with what he just said. That's a great answer. It's an awesome answer, Malachi. What is one underappreciated or quirky thing about photography and videography that more people should know?
The time. When you say underappreciated, it's the time. I know that when you work for somebody, they want it to look professional. They want it to look good because they hired you thinking you worked professional and good, but just the time that goes into it. I got a price I charge for certain things, and when, people or kids or whoever I'm hiring let me know that that's too high, you just don't understand. It's not out here like I'm out here trying to hustle a few dollars off of you. I'm going to give you the price for what it's worth. I got to pay, some kids my age don't have parents like mine, so mommy and daddy will pay for their gas. I got to pay for my gas. I get to drive their vehicle. Very fortunate to drive a vehicle that they own, but I got to pay for my gas. I got to pay for my gas to get to the gym. My camera and lens and editing software and laptop, everything I've paid for myself.
Yeah, that's cool.
Nothing I have that I'm very proud of it. Nothing that I use on a daily basis is given to me. And, other than the Wi-Fi connection that my parents provide at home.
I think they'll give you a pass on that one.
I would say, for sure, the time and dedication that go into what I do is underappreciated.
Most of your time right now is spent videography on basketball.
Yep.
So it's a 40-minute playing time, right?
Turns into about an hour and a half with timeouts and half times and all that.
Okay, so you got an hour and a half while you're sitting there courtside
Yep.
collecting video. Mm-hmm. How much time do you edit?
I would say a single edit, if I really locked in, got it done with an energy drink or something next to me, I could get her knocked out in an hour and 15, hour and 30.
So you're a minute per minute?
Probably.
Okay.
And I would say like a longer scale edit where I'm lost and I don't know what I want to do necessarily would probably be around 2 to 2.5 hours.
So you could easily go to 2 minutes per minute filmed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I've figured doing podcasts now, I'm fortunate it's audio only for the most part. It's between 1 and 2 minutes a minute.
Yep.
So there you go. Sitting here in front of you chatting is the easy part.
Yep, absolutely.
And for you, taking up pictures is the easy part. And some would say that's the fun part.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's to me, that's the most fun.
Yeah, and you get to be sitting there. Do you strategically set up close to the cheerleaders?
That's a good question. No, I definitely don't.
You're missing out on opportunity.
They get in the way a lot more than they benefit anything I'm doing. But yeah,
that's neat. And so for me, it's really cool that I can talk to Malachi as a young person and get his input and ask him questions because I'm a greenhorn and his skills just blow me away.
Thank you.
I appreciate
that. I really do. And I asked questions for people that are, like I said, light years above me. So I didn't just randomly wake up with the knowledge and skills I got now. I had to ask questions just like you are.
So the fourth question, what is your favorite ag-related tool, product, or innovation? And we can throw in photography or videography.
Favorite? Wow. Well, even if we stuck with ag, I would have to say transportation.
Okay.
It's a lot of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the road a lot. I keep telling my dad how bad I want a truck, and he makes a good point when saying, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be traveling a lot these next couple of years. You're not going to want a gas guzzler. Yep. You're going to want something that's fuel efficient. It's going to save you money than looking cool driving a truck. And I would definitely say transportation for sure, because where would we be without that?
Yeah. You wouldn't be going back and forth to Huntington in an evening.
I would not. I'd have to say, sorry, I can't make it today. I'm not going to be able to make it. I have to turn a few jobs down.
Yeah. Transportation's a great one. And the last question, what is one small change that could make a big impact in the future of ag?
Be happy for others.
Bingo.
I think that's all I got to say. My dad and I actually talk about that a lot. People today, there's a select few that don't like to see someone else having success. Whether you say it out loud and let them know straight up, or you're behind a screen being a keyboard warrior, letting them know for social media how much you hate them or how you want to fight them or anything like that. But just being happy for others. Everybody's got their opinions, whether you voice it or not. Be happy for somebody when they have success. Mm-hmm. You could be jealous, but be happy for them at the same time.
Yeah.
I catch myself being jealous a lot, seeing somebody who I know I do better work than,
Yeah.
getting a Division I job, being able to film for Purdue or Indiana or Notre Dame or someone in the area that, is a high-level Division I college. Sure, I mean, I get jealous, but I got to be happy for him. He worked just as hard as I did. Someday I'm going to have that opportunity, and someone, that's not quite where I'm at is going to be jealous of me. And you just got to you got to celebrate other people's successes, because whether they work for it or not, they're doing it, and they're out there setting a standard.
Yeah. Be happy for others. That could go a long ways. That's good. Well, Malachi, this has been a great conversation, and I hope that your message of struggle and recovery and growth is a inspiration for my listeners. And I know that your struggles are not over.
Yep.
And I hope we can revisit this down the road and you can share how much better you are.
Absolutely.
And talk about new cool things that you're doing with videography that blow us away even from where we are today.
Yes, sir.
So are there any closing comments you'd like to share? Any words of inspiration?
I don't think I really got any other than what I've said already. Probably said too much already, but
I think your message of be good to others or be happy for others is a great way for us to end.
Awesome.
So thank you for coming to the Terra Level Executive Suite and sharing your story with us.
Yes, sir. You bet.
Well, my listeners, here is a heavy conversation where we dug into the roots of young Malachi and how that's affected his life and how his support system and being open to asking for help has changed his trajectory. We're going to have more episodes, hopefully not this heavy, where we continue to dig into the roots of people, how their ag roots made them the people they are today. Thank you for the likes, the follows, and the questions. I'm looking forward to sharing more of these stories with you down the road.